Let's talk Tiger King episode 2.
Oh man, my favorite episode, I believe.
So I'm going back. So we watched this as we talked about in the show. And we said, look, last week, because of the some of these shutdowns and all this stuff, we said, we watch a lot of Netflix anyway, so let's just go in and let's dig into Tiger King because we had both watched it, we loved it. We talked about episode 1 last week. We said we're going to do one by one, and Sam and I are rewatching it, taking some notes. And yes, this will include a lot of spoilers. So again, Tiger King episode 2, spoilers are around. So I'm going to give you 3, 2, 1. Close it out. Nothing but spoilers from here on out. Sam, possibly your favorite episode. Why?
There's a lot to unpack in this one. The cast of characters is unbelievable.
It definitely, like, that first episode gets you, like, I feel like the first episode is like, like almost like a fight. You get shoved and you're like, all right, you kind of get in the mood. Like you get introduced to this Joe Exotic. Right. You're like, who the hell is this guy? He's got a husband, like he's got more husbands. Then you get in episode 2, just like, what planet am I on?
Well, yeah, it opens up with the chick getting her arm, chewed off, and he comes out in a paramedic's jacket.
Yeah. So that's wild. Okay, so like think about this because and you saw like it throughout the first episode and throughout the series, you see all the coats that he has like in his cabin or whatever he is. His it's not a shack. What am I thinking of? What's the word for that? It's not
trailer.
Trailer. Yes, trailer is the word I was looking for. So so he's got all these coats. So the person reaches her arm into the tiger cage, gets it ripped off. Well, I guess it's not technically ripped off because she did say she was in the hospital.
Yeah, just mangled really bad.
Super, super bad. Now, here's the thing. Okay, so first of all, of course, this emergency is going on. So, Sam, you said right, and you told me before, and I was watching for it. Yeah, he was wearing the first responder jacket, but he was wearing a first responder button-up underneath that jacket. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
So like he actually listen like running out and being like and stopping at your coat rack with like 30 coats and saying where's that where's my first responder jacket, and you're rifling through the jackets. That might take you like 5 seconds to change your button up shirt and tuck it back into your tight jeans. Like he gets the call on the walkie-talkie. He's like, I'm going to be on camera here. I got to get that first responder thing. His own first responder shirt.
Yeah, man.
Wild man.
And then he goes into the gift shop and he's like, "Hey, listen, a tiger bit one of my employees' arms off. I could give you a rate check, or you could get your money back."
Who wants some coupons? Who wants some coupons?
Stop at my underwear section before you leave. By the way,
Joe Exotic underwear.
Yeah, and then we get into Doc, and we get into the guy down in Miami, the drug lord, who might be my favorite guy. I really need more on this guy. And Doc and all his harem of women, and yeah, it is unbelievable. I love this episode.
So let me take you back to the girl who gets her arm bit, right, mangled. She comes in, she says, that night, of course, like the media was going crazy, like this rabid Oklahoma media is going crazy. She says they're blowing everything out of proportion, right? She's almost missing an arm. Well, I guess Joe had signed basically, what was it, like a release?
Yeah.
Basically a don't sue me form. And she's like, well, I grabbed the pen and I signed it, so my hand was still working. This is on the mangled arm that she signed this thing with, right? Then she had the discussion with the doctors, and she thought that she didn't want this awful Oklahoma media to blow this thing out of proportion. So she says, "Chop my arm off at the elbow," and was back to work within 7 days. 5 days in the hospital, 7 days back at work.
Taking one for the team, man.
My goodness.
He's like, yeah, we could save your arm. It's going to be about a couple years of reconstructive surgeries and stuff. And she's like, yeah, nope. Take it off.
Take it off.
Take it off. I got to get back to work.
I can't suffer another minute in this news cycle. So let me just chop my arm off. And then it was obviously her dominant arm because she said she signed the release and the consent form with it too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So back to work in 7 days after getting your arm eaten by a tiger. And then, like, he's out there, and you see how fidgety Joe Exotic is. He's like, he's shaking, and he's putting, like, his arm shaking when he's puffing a cigarette. And they're like, the guy's like, is there anything to do? He's like, don't put your hand in the cage. Just be safe.
Do chores.
Do chores. Be safe.
Do chores. What are do chores?
Be safe.
Be
Don't
safe.
put your hand, like, like the the tone there is like he's already shifting blame to this girl.
Yeah, yeah, and he's like,
don't put your hand in the cage. And you see all throughout the whole thing, everybody's putting their hand in the cage like Pet the Tiger. Don't put the hand in the cage.
I'm never gonna financially recover from this.
Yeah, I forgot. That was that same thing. He's like shaking. I'm never gonna financially recover. Look on camera.
Love it.
And then I forgot too. A couple notes because I made the notes in chronological order as I was running through the show here. The guy that's making the documentary, or that tried to initially like turn this into a reality show, the dude with the cowboy hat that we were talking about last week. That guy's a character too. And you'd mentioned, was it last week you'd said that like in real life, his like he had burned some like his place down under suspicious circumstances.
Yeah, well, he used to work for Inside Edition.
Yeah.
Remember that thing? And then, like, I guess he was a junkie, and they fired him because his like coke habit was like out of control. And he made a documentary. It was on HBO, like in the early 2000s. It was just like junkie reporter or something like that. And so I guess he lives in Norway now. The guy's just a real loose cannon.
It seems that
as
way.
most of them are. And I guess he lived there for what, like 5 years, like
in the trailer.
doing his TV show for Joe.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a lot.
Then there's
a lot there.
Then on top of this girl getting her arm chewed off, there's also a guy that has no legs that I forgot. Like he was like basically like the head of operations.
Yeah, he's the head of operations. Who he actually might be my actual like. He just seems like a good dude.
Yeah, like he's definitely the like only functional one out of that whole crew. Like that I'm thinking like he probably can hold a steady job and could have held a steady job.
Rinky, yeah, John Rinky. Yeah,
but he lost his legs in a ziplining accident. And this is
brutal.
Another thing, I will never go in a helicopter tour, and I will never go on a zip line because they're not regulated.
Oh, I've ziplined many times.
I'm never going on one. And there will be a guy's trip at some point where, I can hear it. I can hear Gooch right now in my ear. Come on. I'm going to say, dude, it's not regulated. I don't know these people. I'm not doing it.
Well, I'll take one for the team.
Yeah, well, you go. You guys can go.
I will.
You guys can go. I'm not getting on one of the zip lines because they're not regulated. Hot air balloons, not regulated. Anybody?
I don't think I get on a hot air balloon.
Anybody out there listening right now can start a hot air balloon business and be the pilot.
Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't do a hot air balloon. I have no.
I thought about it, like going out to like I've been out to like Napa Valley and stuff. I thought about doing like those hot air balloons, and I can't remember if it was Napa or if it was like somewhere in like Arizona or Texas or something. There was like a big crash and 12 people died because the dude was like he was a loose cannon hot air balloon pilot because there's no regulation. Like people like it's a nice talking point. Like smaller government, blah blah blah, and like I'll get in these. Well, I don't get into arguments because they're stupid anyway. I just don't really have the discussion. But whenever I hear people talk about how stupid taxes are and blah blah blah, I'm like, dude, you do like putting your money into a bank and being able to take that money back out, right? That's part of the government. Do you like going to the grocery store and buying beef and knowing it's not ground up rat? That's the government. Like, do you like sending your kids to school to learn how to do, to count? Do you want to teach your kids? Do you want to homeschool your kids? That's the government. Like, like everybody out there who's like, oh, taxes are stupid. Look, I know government spending is lame because people can't freaking budget. I agree with that. But the idea that all taxes are stupid is stupid. Okay? Like, I want to be able to go and like, be able to write a check to somebody. I want to invest in a stock and know that it's not a garbage stock, like that there's some kind of SEC compliance and not just fudging numbers, because there's enough assholes out there. Yeah, I said it. Assholes.
You said it.
I said the whole part of that word. Anyway, so there's that tangent. So you mentioned the dude in is he Miami or is he Southern Florida?
No, he's Miami.
And he's the guy that people say they based the Scarface character on.
Yeah.
Has a compound out there. The maker of the documentary is trying to get on the compound. He can't. He ends up finding somebody who used to work there. Guy puts in a call, gets out there, and is probably the nicest, most functional guy of the whole documentary. Although I will say this, Sam. Do you have? I'm looking through my notes here. I don't have his rap sheet. He got 100 years. If anybody watched Narcos. Little spoiler here, so I'm going to give you another 3, 2, 1 countdown. Okay, 3, 2, 1. There's a spoiler. So in Narcos, there's a little clip in there where they say that basically the search for Pablo Escobar kind of got ratcheted up, and nobody would touch federal agents because in Miami, some idiot cut up into pieces, and burned to ashes like a DEA agent. It was this guy. It was this guy. Okay. So he gets 100 years. Now, he's, of course, says that he had nothing to do with it. Like, I didn't kill the guy. They dumped it on my property. I was a little crazy. He's like, in my crazy days, I said, let's just cut him up and burn him. Very nonchalant. That was the only line that you got in that whole movie, right?
Yep.
Or like the whole series. It's like, in my crazier days, I said, let's just cut him up and burn him. So that's what they did. He gets 100 years, gets his sentence, won the appeal, gets out after 12 years. Yeah. Says that he ran a drug business to fuel to fund his animal habit. So this guy, what I'm learning about this episode is you got to have a screw loose to be into big cats. A little bit of a screw loose. Now this guy's the most normal, but let me ask you this, Sam: if you're making a documentary and you get into this guy's compound, are you gonna go into the background on him and really take a deep dive into this guy?
No. And they were very, very kind to this guy compared to what they dug up on everybody else.
Let me tell you, this guy who had his sentence this guy's like, I did my time. Carol Baskin in Tampa Bay is complaining about everybody. It's like, she says I can't own a cat because I'm a convicted felon. I did my time. He did 12 years of a 100-year sentence, but he's out. He's out. And he has a pretty sick collection, I'll say that.
Yeah, he does. Man.
You know what else did?
And he drives a Bentley, which is that's like a $200,000 car he's driving. I don't know what else this guy's doing, but
let me tell you that money that he had, because he was talking about, he's like, in Scarface, he's like, the briefcase going up to the bank and all that stuff. He's like, I did that. Yeah. He's like, but you got to call them in advance, and they have to have 10 tellers in the background, or like in the back room
to count it all because they didn't have money counters. Yeah. He's like, I didn't have a fat guy in a van. I drove in a Corvette myself.
It's like I drove the Corvette. I took the suitcase in myself and 10 tellers. So anyway, I think he has money. I think his money laundering or like whatever he had going through that.
He stacked it.
Yeah. So anyway, he has money, and I will say this: of all of the compounds, I would say Doc Antle's and his were the best in terms of quality. Yeah. Doc was better because he just had more property, and this guy just had really nice facilities. But you could tell he was just a little cramped because it's Southern Miami, it's Southern Florida. It's expensive for real estate down there. But his was very nice. And my favorite animal, Sam. First of all, I would never own one of these things, period. But if I could own one of the big cats, let me throw this question out to you: which cat would you own?
If I could own a big cat?
A big cat. Whatever one, You're talking tigers, you're talking ligers, tigons, whatever.
Oh, man. Probably a tiger, man.
Would you?
Yeah, they're just... I mean, I love cheetahs, too. But I'd say a tiger.
I would do a black
jaguar. Yeah, black that's pretty sick, man. Too. Yeah.
It's so sick, man, those things.
Yeah.
Or a black panther, one of the two. But I think the black jaguar with like the patches and the dark fur.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Big ass head. Yeah, man, that thing's sick.
I think that would be my favorite over the tiger. And those ligers, like I know we saw one of them on Doc Antle's property. But, man, those things are big.
Yeah,
I cannot believe how big they are. Holy smokes. Oh, anyway, so speaking of Doc, impressions on Doc Antle. So we got our first really deep dive into this character.
Oh, man, this guy, you could tell he's really screwed up some people's lives along the way, including his children, who he basically says, like, yeah, my kids, like, they can't deal with it. My women can't deal with my lifestyle. He's like, I won't really go into all my inner workings on, but like...
He's like, you can't get into the complexities of my complex lifestyle. It's not for prime time. So he's a private guy, which I can respect. I wouldn't go into if I had a harem, because it's one more thing that people are just going to complain about.
Yeah, but man, he puts these girls up in pretty nice houses, man.
I did see that.
Like,
a lot of square footage.
Damn. Well, yeah, but you heard in the last episode how much like a day pass cost there.
How much was it?
$690.
Wow.
For a day pass, and some people
And then what was wild is people went multiple days in a row.
Right. So I'm like, well, that's how he's able to afford this stuff, and it's in Myrtle Beach, man. It's not like,
Not only that, but he a lot of his animals are in movies. Like he's the movie animal guy. So like I think like Ace Ventura, he had some animals.
Yeah, he had
in there.
all the stuff in there. So, pretty much anything with animals they've gone to. So
yeah, man, the houses on that compound.
He is a strange dude, man. And then they got the girl talking. I'll let you go in order. I know you gotta.
No, the girl. You're talking about Doc's girl, right? The one that
got away.
The one that got away, I guess, but who still loves him. And so she's like, because of course he wouldn't talk about it, so they found somebody else who would talk about it. And she starts talking about how he hires these people. And I would say that the whole arc of this episode for me, if you could build a story arc around this episode, would be cult leaders, tiger cult leaders. Yeah, they predators. All run their cults. And actually, Joe Exotic he said it, and he used the word cult, and he said it with pride, which I thought was weird and kind of.
This is gonna be Waco.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So anyway, they get this girl, and the girl's talking about like how he hires basically these teenage girls and really zeroes in on the virgins, deflowers them, and
gives them a boob job.
Makes them get boob jobs if they need the boob jobs, and they live on the compound to become his wife. That's basically what happens. Yeah. So he talks about, there's this one guy. There's like all these girls that have been there forever, and there's one guy who's a falconer apparently.
Yeah, this guy.
And he's like, I work, 80-hour weeks, and like he's talking about all this stuff, and they make $100 a week, by the way.
Right.
And he's like, I make, $100 a week. He's like, people will tell you, and they get you caught up in this, this thing, like you need to have a 40-hour work week and that blah, 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 blah. And so like, I mean, I don't know. He might have deflowered this guy too. Who knows? But like this dude is like devoted. And then they get cut back to Doc Antle saying, the ones that make it, right? The ones that make it are the ones that know that this is a lifestyle. What he's basically saying is the ones that will work for nothing, Now he does have a compound. He gives them houses. I mean, it is very cult-like. Right. But I would say it is more of that harem type thing more than it is like a David Koresh type thing.
Right. I mean, they're allowed to leave.
They are allowed to leave.
He'll just find another girl that'll do the same thing, Yeah. And I mean, I was wondering when they get old enough, is he gonna kick them to the curb? Because the one girl, China, she was older. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's probably getting. It seems like he gets a new one every 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And
but
like
most of them have been there almost 20 years.
I know. And he's crazy. Like, she came here when she was 16, lived on the. I'm just like, oh boy.
And then his son, they show his son.
Yeah, I love that guy.
You could tell this kid, man, he has got some demons, and and he wants to lead. You could just tell he wants to write a tell-all. It's gonna come out one day.
So they talk about like his name. I can't remember his name. They call him Doc, but it's like Bogdanovan or something like that.
Well, his real name is Kevin.
Of course.
Kevin Antle, but he goes by Lord.
Yeah, Lord. So it's like Bogdanovan. It's like kind of like I don't know if it's Indian or that level of Asian. You could say that region. And the name means Lord, and so then the documentary people ask him like what it means. He's just like, well, it means So he didn't say Lord. Then they cut to the son, and they're like, well, they say that your dad and blah blah blah. They think that he's the head and the chief and like all that stuff, and like his son's just like nodding. He's like, well, yeah, I think in that universe, he probably does think that.
Yeah, in his universe,
in his universe, he probably is that guy. Yeah, and he can see him like laughing, like my dad's a freaking nut job.
Yeah,
yeah. He's like, there are like when you get the sane people, you get these little. It's like you're underwater and you get a little breath of air with these sane people. You get very few sane people. Mm-hmm. And he was one of them. The guy with no legs on Joe's compound is one of them.
Yeah, he's one of them.
And Carol doesn't have one.
No, Carol doesn't have one because she's got her husband, bound.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Well, I know we get into that a little bit later in the series. So then, speaking of Carol, we're talking about Colt. So Doc Antle pays about $100 a week to his employees. Joe, who has no money, Joe Exotic, paid about $100 to $120 per week for his employees. And he gets, by the way, his employees like basically they're all strung out. And
meth addicts.
Yeah, they're all meth addicts, and he gets them, and they can live on his compound. They eat spoiled meat from Walmart. The Walmart truck, they get all the spoiled meat to feed the animals, but then they give some spoiled meat.
Yeah, they get their pickings too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Carol doesn't pay a dime to anybody because they all volunteer. Yeah, She's got all these people volunteer. So an intern in the quote unquote fast track program, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. 72. And then when you get into dark blue, which is the best of them, the lady was like laughing because she doesn't spend Christmas at home. Like this lady, not Carol wasn't laughing. The lady who wasn't spending Christmas at home, they're cleaning up tiger crap all day
for nothing.
So then towards the end of the episode, I'll let you take this one.
And that's not a cheap place either.
No.
It's not $600 a day.
Or whatever, they're making some money. They're making a lot of money.
Bank, bro, and they're getting government grants because it's a sanctuary.
It's a sanctuary. I will say this: she does not breed. The other ones breed, and she does not. So I will grant her that because she doesn't perpetuate the issue, which is kind of what she says. But she definitely has this snowed over cult following that will just come and work and volunteer. Yeah. So she gets all of her labor. She doesn't have to do any of the heavy lifting. She doesn't pay for any of it because it's like this membership based program. And, the higher you rise, the more you get abused. So they all structurally have the same thing going on, which is very interesting, but they do it in different ways. And Carol is definitely the most effective, at least in terms of business, because she gets the grants, like you said. She gets, she has the biggest social media, so she gets money off of that. She gets a crazy amount of money from people coming in and paying for the tickets and all that stuff. It's just pure profit. She's printing money.
Now, can you believe a baby tiger only sells for $2,000?
Yes, I wrote that down too.
Man, French bulldogs are $2,500.
I know.
Like, I can't believe it. Only $2,000 for a baby tiger.
So you can buy a baby tiger. I always thought that I would be interested in a tiger if somebody figured out a way to genetically make a tiger that wouldn't grow, that would always be a cub.
Right.
Which I'm sure the scientists can do that, but then you get into the ethical stuff, which is why nobody. Because if you're going to get into that, you're going to fight it over, the cloning of livers and stuff that can help people. Don't fight that battle, that legal battle over whether or not you can keep a kitten. But yeah, $2,000. I thought that was like ridiculous. Now I'm sure Doc Antle's selling them for 10, but Joe.
Yeah, I mean that's the Joe. That's the
Joe discount
price.
Yeah. So like Joe, they were saying like his husband made runs, he said, to 38 states dropping off tigers, and at the rate that Joe bred these things. Like how could he find the buyer for all of them?
Man, it's scary. I bet you wherever you live, there's somebody within a couple miles.
Well, didn't we used to have somebody in our?
Yeah, right off of Loma.
Yeah,
there was a big cat. And people had big cats, and they used to bring them to like schools and stuff. But they were huge, and like I used to live over that way. Me and Basket Weaver.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Like, you could be outside shooting hoops and you'll hear a damn lion roaring, and it's like, for a while we didn't know until we found out where it was, and it's back, like, in this, like, they had some land and everything. Yeah. I don't know if that stuff's still there anymore.
No, I know it's not. That got sold out.
I'm sure.
But yeah.
It's not cheap to keep big cats. And
yeah, as we talked about last week, Doc said you pay $10,000 a day to feed these things, or a week or something like that, and then Joe was like, I can feed them all 2,000 a day. This Joe, as we're gonna find, you can start to see it at the end. We got about 2 to 3 minutes to wrap this thing up, Sam. But towards the end of the episode, Joe flies over Carol's compound, and that's when the husband says, like, he starts thinking about dropping grenades on Carol's compound, like, I can do this and that. And so you start to see this character that they're painting, Joe Exotic, he's almost like started with good intentions and becoming a gangster. Right. Maybe a little, if you could relate it to actual fiction, maybe a little Breaking Bad in there.
Right.
He becomes this slowly, he's becoming this guy in the series that is like kind of embracing being the big shot tiger guy as opposed to the conservationist. So like he's changing. And then this battle, you can see this battle with Carol looming as we get into episode 3. But that's what we can talk about next week, buddy. Episode 3.
Can't wait.
Oh, man. What a show. What a show this is. So, yes, hopefully we're going to have some sports to talk about. UFC, as we talked about, is going to be getting in there. But Sam and I are going to be continuing our in-depth coverage of Tiger King. We're going to be coming back with episode 3 next week. Check back, everybody. We appreciate you staying with us through this pandemic. Keep staying with us. We're going to keep the content coming. And then we got the Bulls documentary on ESPN coming down the line, too. So we're going to be talking a lot about that stuff as well. I think that is it for me. Sam, everything good with you?
Everything's good, man. Everyone be good. Wash your hands. Stay home.
Yeah, stay home. Stay healthy. Be good.